The company that people call Linxin is an extremely well-known company because, well, they produce most of the modern Plants vs. Zombies plushes that we have. And, well, today we're going to be looking at the third set that they ever made for Plants vs. Zombies and the second main Plants vs. Zombies plush set that they made. So with that said, welcome to a look at the Linxin 2 Set 2 plush set. Let's start off with the first plush in this set, which is the Cherry Bomb. Now, one thing that doesn't make a lot of sense about this Cherry Bomb plush is that it has the Plants vs. Zombies 1 design instead of the Plants vs. Zombies 2 design. Which doesn't really make much sense for this plush to have a Plants vs. Zombies 1 design because, well, at this point, Plants vs. Zombies 2 has already been out for multiple years, so yeah, it really makes no sense to have a Plants vs. Zombies 1 design plush. But yeah, it's kind of weird that the older Cherry Bomb plushes look more accurate to the Plants vs. Zombies 2 Cherry Bomb, while the newer ones look more accurate to the Plants vs. Zombies 1 Cherry Bomb. It doesn't really make much sense at all. But yeah, since it's based off of the Plants vs. Zombies 1 design, it is more of a unique plush, but overall it looks okay, I guess. By far the worst part about this plush is that the stem and the leaves on it are just really bad. You see, there's metal rods in the stem, so these could get easily bent and damaged, and the metal could break because it's only made out of a very cheap metalish material. Also, the leaves are made out of felt and they're only glued on, so they could fall off and also collect debris and dust. And while the cherries themselves are fine, the faces look accurate to the Plants vs. Zombies 1 design, but overall it's still weird that they made a Plants vs. Zombies 1 design plush many years after Plants vs. Zombies 2 was already released. But if you want this plush, look on eBay because, well, you could easily find it. And now let's move on to the next plush in the set, which is the Sunroom. Now, this is another plush in the set that doesn't really make much sense for existing at all. You see, the Sunroom design might look familiar, but not from this plush. It's actually based off of a bootleg plush. So yeah, for some reason this company based their own plush off of a bootleg plush. Why? Why did they do that? It makes literally no sense. I would have much rather them just based off of the Linxin Sunroom because, well, this one just looks really ugly overall and doesn't really make much sense to base off of a bootleg. But overall, the Sunroom plush is probably the worst Sunroom plush to ever be made because, well, the face is just super weird looking and also the head of the Sunroom is just a really inaccurate shape. And overall, it's just another really weird decision that they made to base a plush off of a bootleg instead of the normal Linxin version like they did with other plushes in the set. But yeah, this is probably the worst Sunroom plush to ever be made by any company, and I would definitely recommend getting the Linxin one instead of this one. And now let's move on to the next plush in the set, which is the Fum Shroom. Now this one also has a strange design, especially on the face because, well, the skin color is a very dark green, which isn't accurate to how it's supposed to be. Also, in most versions of this plush, you see that the face is very squished because they made the head too small, so they had to squish all the details together, which overall looks really funny, but it is inaccurate. But yeah, besides that detail, the plush overall is okay. It has all the correct details technically, it just really isn't executed that well compared to the Linxin version. And overall, the head shape just looks really skinny instead of being wider because, well, the head shape is supposed to be wider than it actually is. Also, the shooter part of the Fum Shroom could also fall off because it's only glued on. But yeah, just like the Sunroom, I would definitely recommend getting the Linxin version instead of this version. And now let's move on to the next plush in the set, which is the Blover. Now, interestingly, this plush actually isn't based off of a Linxin version of the Blover plush. It's actually based off the limited edition design of the Blover plush. Which is overall pretty weird because, well, there's not many plushes based off of the limited edition designs of the plushes themselves. But yeah, just by looking at it, you could clearly see that there's many differences from this version to the limited edition version. Most noticeably, the head and the leaves on the face are just way too big. You see, the leaf base is actually a normal size for the limited edition Blover, except the rest of the plush is just really big for some reason. I don't know why they did that. Because, well, they made the leaf base accurate, but not the rest of the plush. Overall, it just looks like this plush has a really small leaf base for some reason. And it really makes no sense that they made one detail of this plush really big and the other detail just really small. But yeah, the plush itself is okay. It could get a really flimsy neck though because, well, since these plushes have such thick stems, they could get understuffed really easily and they could easily just become really floppy on the neck. Which will make this plush impossible to stand up because, well, the neck would just be completely unstuffed. Also, for some reason, this plush is just looking straight up most of the time, which is another really weird detail and just seems to be bad quality control in this plush. But yeah, I would definitely recommend getting the limited edition version if you could find it because, well, obviously the limited edition version is much rarer than this one. Now let's move on to the next plush instead, which is the Split Pea. Now the Split Pea plush is actually pretty good, except there are some details that need to be changed on it. First off, the leaf base is just way too small compared to the plush itself, and the Linxin leaf base is a lot more accurate to size than this one. And, well, for some reason the heads on this plush are just combined together really weirdly. Because on the Linxin version, they have like a gap between the heads a little bit, but on this one, they just connect like instantly, which overall makes for a really weird detail and overall just doesn't really look that good. So yeah, now there's basically no separation from the two heads of the plush, which overall make it look more inaccurate and also just makes it look worse overall. But besides that, the facial expressions on the pea shooter and repeater overall look pretty good and they're stitched on nicely. It's just that they miss some details on this plush compared to what it's actually supposed to be. And now let's go on to the next plush instead, which is the Magnet Shroom. And well, just like the Blover, this plush is based off of the limited edition design of the Magnet Shroom instead of the Linxin one. And overall, they did a really bad job recreating the limited edition version. Like, even the bootleg version of the limited edition version did a better job than Linxin 2 recreating it, which overall says a lot about how this company makes their plushes. That bootleg company did better than this one. But yeah, for some reason the magnet on this plush is just really big compared to the limited edition version, and they also seem to like shrink the stem a little bit. Because, well, yes, the magnet was a lot bigger compared to the stem on the limited edition version, but this one is even bigger, which is another really weird detail that they added about this plush, just making it bigger overall. Also, for some reason, the eyebrows are just really weird looking, and they're just kind of like straight up, which isn't accurate how it's supposed to look. And I would actually want to get the bootleg instead of this version because, well, the limited edition version of the Magnet Shroom bootleg is actually better than this one. Because, well, it looks more accurate than this version itself, which, well, is pretty weird that, like, a Linxin 2 plush looks worse than the bootleg of the limited edition version. But yeah, I would definitely not recommend getting this plush because overall it looks pretty inaccurate. And now let's move on to another plush in this set that looks pretty inaccurate, which is the Cattail. Now, compared to the Linxin version of the Cattail, this plush is just really bad looking. For some reason, the face has like no details at all on it, and it's just like really flat looking, and for some reason, the eyes are just really far apart. Because for some reason, they changed this plush to having like a normal looking face on the Linxin version to a really stretched out and flat looking face on the Linxin 2 version. Which is overall just a really weird detail that they added about this plush, and overall it just kind of ruins it because, well, yeah, the embroidery looks nice, but it doesn't really look that nice when the eyes are just like a whole face apart. Because, well, but overall it makes this plush look really weird looking and really inaccurate. And, well, besides the weird looking face, the rest of the plush actually looks pretty good, especially on the leaf base. I like that they added some extra details on it. But yeah, if it wasn't for the weird looking face, this plush would actually be pretty good. But yeah, I would definitely recommend getting the Linxin version instead of this version. And now let's go on to the first unique plush in this set, which is the Spring Bean. So yeah, Linxin didn't actually make a Spring Bean plush, so this is actually the first unique one. And overall, for a unique Linxin 2 plush, this plush is actually really good. The embroidery on the face is overall really high quality, and the material inside the eyeball isn't a felt material, it's like a more high quality material, which is always good to use instead of like felt. And, well, the overall shape of the bean is overall pretty accurate. And the top of the plush and the spring are made out of this like weird like vinyl material, it feels like, which could get damaged, but overall you don't really see it get damaged that often, and because, well, it holds up pretty well. But yeah, I would definitely recommend getting this plush, and it's one of the better plants in this whole set. Because, well, not only is this plush unique to itself, it also has a really good design to it, which is rare to see from a Linxin 2 plush. And now let's move on to the next plush in the set, which is the Electric Blueberry. And, well, overall, this plush is actually really good and really unique because, well, you wouldn't really think that Electric Blueberry would get a plush, but it actually did. But yeah, the shape of it's really accurate, and overall, all the details that are stitched on are really good. And I really like that they made the aqua blue eyes stand out more from the rest of the plush. But yeah, they did a good job embroidering all the details on the face right. They did add some felt on the middle of like the eyes and stuff, which is a really bad detail about this plush, but besides that, it's pretty good. And there's also some felt on the top of the blueberry, which is another bad detail. But yeah, the leaf base is pretty good, and it has the accuracy having like the leaf stitched to the side of it. There's also a backpack clip version, which is just the exact same as the normal Electric Blueberry, but just smaller. But yeah, I would definitely recommend getting this plush because overall it's made of a really unique character, and overall they did a great job executing the design of it. And now let's move on to the next plush instead, which is the Saucer Squash. Now these next two plants that we'll be looking at are exclusive to the Plants vs. Zombies 2 Chinese edition. And, well, they did a great job designing these plushes and making it look very accurate to the game. Because, well, the sculpt of these plushes are overall really good because, well, they have all the accurate details and they have a really nice execution to it. The embroidery is very accurate and overall looks very nice, and it has a nice stem to the top of it. But for some reason on the backpack clip version, they changed the nice plush material on the stem into a felt material, which is a really bad detail about the backpack clip version. But yeah, the ring around is nicely stuffed and won't get understuffed because, well, they did a great job stuffing it correctly so it won't get unstuffed over the years. But yeah, overall, this plush is really good and is a really nice, unique plush in the set. And I would definitely recommend getting it because you can find it on eBay for very cheap. And now let's move on to the final plant in this set, which is also exclusive to the Plants vs. Zombies 2 Chinese edition, being the dragon fruit. Now, this plush actually has a lot of extra details hanging off of it, which overall looks pretty good. And it's clear that they put a lot of work into making this plush overall look accurate, and it also has nice embroidery on the face that doesn't have any fell on it like other embroidery does, so yeah, it's really good with that factor. And yeah, the rest of the plush with its like leaf base and the details hanging off of the dragon fruit is overall really accurate and doesn't have any bad materials on it. Also, the leaf base is just really detailed because look how many like lines and extra stuff added onto the leaf base, which overall shows how much work this company put into making this plush look accurate to the game. And just like the saucer squash and the electric blueberry, it has a backpack clip version of it for some reason. And I don't really understand why these backpack clip versions exist because, well, overall it is the exact same plush but just smaller and it has no extra details to it. And while the normal sizes of the plushes are actually really common, but the backpack clip versions are more rare because, well, they were bought a lot less by people. But yeah, if you want this plush, look on eBay. Now let's move on to the next plush in the set, which is the Witch Zombie. Now this is actually a pretty weird plush to be made at this time because, well, it's based off of the fake Plants vs. Zombies 2 leak, the same leak that the duckweed zombie came from. And it doesn't really make any sense that this plush was ever made at this time, especially because, well, the fake Plants vs. Zombies 2 leak was already years old, and, well, Plants vs. Zombies 2 had already come out, so I don't know why this plush was ever made in the first place. This also has to go for, like, the weirdest face of a Plants vs. Zombies plush to ever be made, because, well, just look at that weird looking mouth that it has. Also, the hair on the plush is just really bad. It's made out of this soft material, except it's not fully stitched to the plush, so it could easily just, like, flop around and stuff, and it overall looks really bad. And, well, besides the weird details on the face, the rest of the plush is okay. The shoes do look a little weird, and for some reason the legs are green on this plush. But it's still weird that this plush even exists in the first place because, well, the PVZ2 leak was so long ago and they just released this plush so many years after it already had happened. And this plush probably has the weirdest face of any Plants vs. Zombies plush to ever be released by any company. Now let's move on to the next plush in the set, which is the Soccer Zombie. Now, just like the Witch Zombie, this plush actually has a unique face to it. Specifically, like on the mouth, it only has 3 teeth in the mouth instead of like the normal amount of teeth that a zombie has. Now, the zombie's skin color is a green color, but one thing that does look pretty weird in some positions of the plush is that, well, sometimes the legs look yellow, even though they're not. Because, well, the yellow on the legs are supposed to be like socks, but they're covering up most of the legs that you could see, so yeah, sometimes it looks like the legs are just fully yellow, which is a really weird detail to add. And overall, besides that, the rest of the plush is actually pretty good. The shirt on the zombie is actually unique. It's the only zombie to ever have this type of shirt. But one bad thing about this plush, once again, is that there's felt around the arms, which is supposed to be like bands or something like that. So yeah, that's another bad detail about the plush because they could get damaged. Also, the hair on this plush is pretty weird because, well, the hair can get damaged. It just is a really weird material that they made out of. Also, it just like flops everywhere. And this is also just another unique factor about the zombie plush because, well, no other zombie plush has this type of hair on it. But yeah, overall, the zombie actually has a lot of unique details to it, and overall, I'd recommend getting it because it's quite a unique plush. And now let's move on to a plush in this set that's not that unique, being the Buckethead Mummy Zombie. Now, this is a redesign of the Linxin Buckethead Mummy Zombie plush, and, well, overall, this version is a lot worse. It uses the exact same bucket and the earring on the side of it being made out of a felt material and also having iron on it, so that could get easily damaged. But by far the worst part about the plush is just the zombie itself is just really weird looking. And especially the clothes it's wearing, it just doesn't cover up the zombie fully. It doesn't really look that accurate to how it's supposed to be. Also, it takes away uniqueness from the Linxin Buckethead Mummy Zombie because, well, that plush was fairly unique because of the face of it. But this plush basically has no uniqueness at all to it. And overall, it's basically just a very cheaply made Buckethead Mummy Zombie plush. And also, all the clothes on this plush could get easily damaged, and some could even like fall off every once in a while. So yeah, overall, I would definitely not recommend getting this plush. I would definitely get the Linxin version instead of this version. And now let's move on to the next plush in the set, which is the Kung Fu Conehead Zombie. Now this is another zombie from the Kung Fu world, and overall, it's pretty good. It has a nice unique cone on it, which is unique to basically any other Conehead Zombie plush, and overall, it looks pretty good and accurate to the game. The face overall looks pretty accurate and it looks exactly how it's supposed to look like in the game. But the bad thing about this plush is that the band around his arms and the clothes that's wearing are all made out of felt. And well, this means that they could all get easily damaged, which is basically the main part of the plush because well, this is basically like the whole plush's material. So yeah, it's a really bad detail about it. Also, the felt clothing could fall off because it's only slightly stitched on, so that could get easily like damaged and easily fall off. But yeah, overall this plush is really unique, but they just made it out of some bad materials, and overall it makes this plush pretty bad in terms of like holding up over the years. And now let's go on to another exclusive Kung Fu zombie, being the Qingong Zombie. And I probably didn't say that name right because it's a really weird name, but I tried my best. But yeah, overall, this probably has to be one of the most unique zombies in the whole set because overall, it has a lot of nice details on it and overall, it's pretty cool. It has some very furry eyebrows, mustache, and beard on it, which is overall is made out of a really nice material that's really soft. And it's similar to the material used on the Swashbuckler zombie's beard. This plush is also in a unique position with one of his arms facing up to make it more accurate to how he looks in the game. And all his clothing is really accurate and they're all made out of good materials, so none of the materials are really made out of felt, so yeah, this makes this plush a lot better. And this probably has to be one of the most high quality plushes in the whole set. But yeah, out of the two Kung Fu zombies in the set, I would definitely recommend getting this one. And now let's move on to the next plush in the set, which is the Jester Zombie. Now there are actually two designs of it, one with these like weird looking eyes being the rare version, and this one with the normal looking eyes, which is the less rare version. And both of them are exactly the same except for the eyes on the plush. And well, this plush is actually really good because the materials on this plush are really good and the clothing's overall pretty accurate. The one bad detail is that the cotton balls at the end of the shoes and the hat are made out of like this cottonish material and they could easily fall off because they're only glued on. But besides that one bad detail, the plush is really good and has all the correct details to the clothing, and overall it seems like that they put a lot of work into making this plush because well, almost all the details are there. And it's also cool because this is one of the few Plants vs. Zombies plushes which are based off the world Dark Ages. But yeah, besides the issue with the cotton balls, this plush is really good and very accurate. And now let's move on to the next plush, which is the Calvary Zombie. Now this plush has all the correct details and they're executed quite well, except that the materials on them aren't the best. Because well, the weapon that he's holding and his helmet is made out of a felt material, so he could get easily damaged. Which obviously isn't a good thing about this plush because overall it looks really good, but these could also get creased, especially on the weapon because well, it's just kind of like a flat out hanging piece of felt, so they could get easily bent and damaged and they could get creased. But yeah, besides that, this plush is actually really high quality with the clothing, also has a nice red thing on the back of the helmet. And they overall got all the clothing details correct, and for some reason they did decide to make it with green skin though. It just seems kind of random with which zombies they choose to make with gray skin and green skin. And now let's go on to the next plush in the set, which is the Mage Zombie. Now this plush's face is actually really similar to this Kung Fu World Zombie's face, and it almost has the exact details except that it's missing the mustache and also the beard's a little longer. But yeah, they basically use the exact same pattern for the face on the other zombie. But overall, it still looks pretty nice and it has some extra details to add it and become more unique. Like that it's holding a wand and a book, which are both made out of felt, but they overall look pretty good, and well, if they don't get bent and damaged, they'll look really nice on the plush. But the wand does have the same problem as the Calvary Zombie's weapon is because, well, since it's like a hanging out piece of felt, it could get easily creased and bent. And well, the clothing's made out of a very thin material, so they could get damaged, but I don't see it damaged too often. But yeah, this plush is really good and has all the correct details, it just wasn't executed that well with the wand and the book being made out of felt. But I would definitely recommend getting the Mage Zombie because, well, it's quite a unique plush. And now moving on to the Big Wave Beach Zombie, starting off with a Pomodori Zombie. There are actually two designs of it, one having like a normal sized wrinkle on the face and the other one having a really weird looking one. But yeah, besides the faces being slightly different, they all have the exact same details. But yeah, one thing I do really like about this plush is that the clothing's on it really detailed. Because as you look at it, it has some really nice designs on it. Overall, one of my favorite zombies in this whole set just because of the shirt being so nicely detailed. And you don't really see Linxin 2 plushes having this much detail put into them that often. But yeah, the hair on this plush is pretty weird though because, well, it just seems like it's coming off of the head overall really weirdly. And also the hair could get easily understuffed, so it looked like the hair could be flat sometimes because, well, they didn't stuff it too well. And the zombie's also wearing a flip-flop, which overall is a pretty nice detail to how the Big Wave Beach Zombies are supposed to look. And well, I would definitely say that the first version is better than the second version. And now moving into the next Big Wave Beach Zombie being the Bikini Zombie. The hair on it, especially in the bangs, is just a really weird detail because, well, the bangs are made out of this weird material that are just like all floppy, just like the soccer zombie's hair. Also, there were some weird decisions about making the materials out of the plush because, well, you'll see that the arms, the face, and the legs are made out of a nice plush material, but the feet and the body are made out of like this weirdish material. And the material's almost kind of like vinyl, but it's really not. It's just a really weird material overall, and it could get easily damaged compared to like a normal plush material, so I don't know why they changed it on this plush. But yeah, just like the Pomodori Zombie, he's wearing a flip-flop, and this flip-flop is actually made out of felt, so it could get damaged. But yeah, this plush is just really weird because they chose to make it out of some weird materials on the feet and the body instead of just making the whole plush out of a normal plush material. And now let's move on to the next plush set, which has the same problems, being the beach flag zombie. And just like the Bikini Zombie, it uses a vinylish material on the body and the feet. And also the flag that's holding has the same problem as the Mage Zombie and the Calvary Zombie because, well, the flagpole could get easily bent and damaged because it's just made out of felt. And well, I think these plushes actually would have been a lot better, and they had a lot of potential to be good. It's just that they were made out of some pretty bad materials that don't hold up that well. And well, I kind of wish that Linxin 2 made them out of better materials because these were really the only big wave beach zombies to ever be made. But yeah, I would still recommend getting all these big wave beach zombies if you like the world because, well, these are the only zombie plushes you could get because no other company or no other set contains these plushes. And now moving on to the final big wave beach zombie, being the Surfer Zombie. This plush uses the exact same face as other big wave beach zombies and has the same hair-like material as on the soccer zombie or the Bikini Zombie. And well, it has the same problems with the material because, well, the body's made out of a normal plush material but the feet aren't. I still don't know why they did this because, well, it really makes no sense at all. Like, I really don't get the point of making the whole plush out of a normal plush material and just changing like one detail on the plush to be made out of a different material because it just causes like more of a hassle to make probably. This plush's surfboard is also stitched to the head, so if the surfboard comes off, it basically ruins the whole plush because it rips off pieces of the hair and also destroys the hands. So if you get this plush, you have to keep it in this position or else the plush will basically get ruined if you take off the surfboard. And now let's move on to another type of zombie, being the Relic Hunter Zombie. Now this plush uses the exact same face as other zombies like the Surfer Zombie, except the skin's just a green color instead of a gray color. Also, it has a mustache that's made out of a felt material, which obviously isn't the best material to make it out of. And also is wearing a bag around it, which is overall is a really nice detail, and the bag could actually be open because it has a flap on it. And it actually does have like a small opening in it, which is an overall really nice detail for this company to make. But the hat and the bag around its chest is made out of a felt material, so that could get damaged, and the hat also seems to have like a gold band around it. But yeah, besides the details being made out of felt, the bag's overall a pretty good detail that's not really on any other Plants vs. Zombies plush. But another weird detail is that the boots on this plush are made out of like the same vinyl material as the Surfer Zombie or like the Bikini Zombies materials are made out of. Which is overall just a really weird detail they decided to make on this plush. But now let's move on to the next plush instead, which is the Punk Zombie. Now I actually really like the face on this plush due to its uniqueness. And it's overall a really cool detail that they stitched on some of the rings, and they also made some of the rings out of a felt material, which yeah, is made out of a bad material, but it's overall really cool that they decided to do this instead of just stitching them all on. It also has a nice pink mohawk, which overall it looks pretty good and is quite accurate to the game. And well, this plush actually has all the correct details on it. They're actually made out of some really good materials, except for like the rings being made out of felt, but yeah, they're all made out of the correct materials and they're overall really good. And it's one of the only plushes in the set that don't really contain any bad details about them being made out of bad materials. It's also a very unique plush due to having like some extra details on the face, which are just probably the best part about this plush. And now let's move on to the next plush in the set, which is the Base Zombie. Now the zombie's exclusive to the Chinese version of Plants vs. Zombies, and it's actually a pretty cool looking zombie. It has some light yellow hair, which is made out of a very nice fuzzy material, and it overall feels really good. Also, the face uses like a normal looking like face like the Jester Zombie, except it has a few more details like with paint above and under the eyes, which actually look really good and very accurate to how the zombie's supposed to look. It also has a felt tie for some reason instead of like an iron-on one like most zombies have, but besides that, this one detail being made out of a bad material, the rest of the plush is actually really high quality and really good. One thing that I noticed though is that the backpack clip zombie is actually missing one detail on it. Because while the normal size zombie has some nice looking shoes on it, while the backpack clip version has like no shoes on it at all, which is a really weird detail that they skipped out on the backpack clip version. But yeah, I would definitely recommend getting this plush. Overall has all the correct details and looks pretty good. And now also into the final plush in this whole set, being the Ice Skater Zombie. Now this plush uses the exact same face as most zombies in this set, except it doesn't actually have a wrinkle on the forehead like others do. And this plush actually has all the correct details on it and overall looks really good. The hat is actually nicely stuffed and won't get understuffed because, well, they actually really nicely stuffed it well. And the clothes can't really get damaged because none of the details are really made out of felt except for the bottom of the skates. But besides that, all the materials on this plush are really high quality and they're really good and they look quite accurate to how the zombie is supposed to look. And this is quite a unique zombie because, well, there's no really other merchandise for the Ice Skater Zombie at all. And it seems that this is probably one of, if not the only piece of merchandise that the Ice Skater Zombie ever got, which makes this plush even more unique. But yeah, which plush in this set is your favorite? Mine's probably the Qingong Zombie, but comment down below yours and yeah, have a great day.